We're on the homestead today. We are in the garden and we're going to do the first official garden tour of the year, of the season. So first things first, I have to water. I have 22 gallons of water in the back of my car and I'm just going to start getting everything watered and then we'll go through, check things out. I'll show you what's doing well, what's maybe not, and see if there's anything to harvest. The water is brown because I've added fish fertilizer. We haven't had a decent rain in, I'm going to say 3 to 4 weeks. It has been pretty rough, so having to haul water has been the only option. So the watering is done. It takes about 30 minutes or so. And I actually had more than 22 gallons. It might have been 27. And everything got a drink. I'm so happy about that because there are times when I come out here and I just don't have enough for everything. The more I plant, the more water I have to think about. So I'll do a video at some point about our homestead, kind of how we found it, how we started, and what the plans are. But for the time being, let's stick with the garden and let me show you around. So we use the Premier One fence. We have just about every animal out here and it has worked wonders. I have seen a couple of nibbles, but for the most part, the Premier One fence has been the lifesaver. So along the edge there, I have 3 peonies. There's one right there in the ground, one right there in the ground, and then there's one over there that something has happened to it. I'm hoping it comes back. And then we've got the pots, the 4 pots. So that's parsley, African blue basil, oregano, and chives. The African blue basil, this is my 2nd year growing it. The bees love it. It looks really sad right now, hoping that perks up with the water and the fish fertilizer. But everything else seems to be doing well. This is a coneflower, and that is lemon verbena. My goal with the garden is to not only make it functional with producing food for us, but to make it beautiful as well. So, you know, I've got some of the herbs here, but I also have these flowers because my hope is that they will grow, be beautiful, be soothing to the soul to come out here and really just be pleasing. On the other side of the fence, in the corner, we've got one lone rosemary, but you probably know rosemary can get pretty big, so I have it there to stay away from other things. Outside the fence, because I'm hoping it grows really big, that is a lilac, and this is a limelight hydrangea. Back behind the fence there is our asparagus patch. There's also a lot of milkweed and just weeds in general. This is an artichoke plant that I got from Azure Standard. There were 3 of them that I got. One, and then the second one right there died, and then there's the 3rd one, but they are doing very well. And then we have 3 summer squash plants. I believe this is zucchini, and so far looks good. And then we've got yellow squash, and we've got some fruits growing, and they look great. No signs of squash bugs yet. Last year I grew all machata varieties. That's I think it's Schata, or just Chata, and the squash bugs don't like those. They're not resistant, but they just don't like them as much. This year, because I killed a lot of my plants inadvertently, I had to go buy what was available, and I bought them from Azure Standard. And so I don't have resistant varieties, but so far, no squash bugs. This is a borage. It is flowering, it is gorgeous, and the bees love it. Now it is like 7:30 at night right now, so while the bees are still out, there's none on it right now, but it's so pretty. So I'm standing at the end of this long trellis here, just to kind of show you, right, what we've got. We've got sweet peppers here. And there's a sweet pepper, and then we go into eggplants. And I have marigolds kind of strewn throughout. These are tomatillos. I've got 4 really healthy tomatillos. And then starting here, the rest are tomatoes. Various tomato varieties. I do have some green beans kind of thrown in as well where there's space. But these are all tomatoes. And I'm using the string method for trellising them. These tomatoes look a lot healthier. And we've already got some gorgeous ones growing. This corner up here, this is all hot peppers. Various varieties of hot peppers, one gorgeous nasturtium. And then again, interplanted, I've got various bush beans, green beans. My goal is to do a lot of succession planting with green beans and have plenty for us to can and go throughout the year. So all of these pots here behind me, these are all bush beans. These are the Blue Lake beans. They are looking fantastic. I want you to see all of the blooms. I don't have any beans yet, but there are so many blooms on these plants. And they are just going to be so productive. I cannot wait. These are all of my Lillian case peas. There are 2 cucumber plants kind of intermixed in here, but these are all peas. Lots of blooms, but no peas yet. I think I may have planted just a tad too late, but still hoping that I'm able to get some. And I noticed this the other day. That's an aphid. Some of these peas have aphids on them. Right there too. So I really need a good rain to get rid of some of these. These are all pole beans, dragon tongue and another variety. But these are all pole beans. And then once these peas are spent, I'll obviously leave the cucumbers, but once the peas are spent, I'm actually going to do a whole nother succession planting of the dragon tongue pole beans. And then again, just in order to try to make the garden not just functional but beautiful, I've got different things sown throughout. So this is calendula, basil, mint. This is lemon balm, lemongrass, more calendula, comfrey, and then over here along the fence there's more comfrey, that's chamomile, sage, and then further down is lavender a little bit. And in between the green beans, I even planted some more green beans with my second succession planting. I'm trying to plant about 20 green bean seeds every couple of weeks. This one is actually feverfew. This arch trellis is strictly for all of the winter squash. We've got a few different varieties. I believe this is sugar pumpkin, butternut, and then on this side we have delicata and acorn. And I've got a delicata growing right down there. And I have a bunch of acorn squash already coming. There's one there, 2 2 in there, and one bigger boy right there. So the acorn squash look great. And then in the tunnel, I have broccoli in these pots. The goal is that the broccoli will be shaded as the squash climbs up. But right now we do have some good looking broccoli coming. Every time I come out here, I just kind of start looking under the leaves for those cabbage worms. I have found some, and every time I do, I just kill them. Now you'll see that there's some white powder on these leaves, and that is diatomaceous earth. I have put diatomaceous earth, or DE, out on some of these plants with no flowers really, just to make sure I am taking care of any worms. And so far, we're good. This is our elderberry. It's one plant. There is a smaller one behind it, but this is just massive. And every time I come to this side of the garden, I can just hear the bees. Now you'll see in some parts, especially over there on the side, where there's looks like the clusters, but there's no white flowers. And that's because the flowers are now gone and the actual berries are starting to form. So soon we'll have our elderberries. I will be competing with the birds, but we usually get about a half gallon, maybe a gallon's worth every winter that I then dehydrate and use for elderberry syrup. So because it has not rained a really good rain again in at least 3, maybe even 4 weeks, my rain barrels, my homemade rain barrels, they look beautiful, but they haven't been as functional because there's nothing to put in them. There's nothing going in them. On the occasions that there were some light rains, I was able to just take off the top, take off the netting with the bungee cord and pour the water out either into a bucket or onto the plant directly. So I have gotten maybe between the 2 barrels 5 gallons, because I have another one all the way up there. But my hope is that we'll get some actually really good summer rainstorms and they can get filled. So in the meantime, I just haul water, and I'm doing it 2 to 3 times a week. I am neurotic about looking at the weather and knowing when it's going to rain and when it's not, and doing my best to keep everything alive. And you may have seen the big buckets along the fence there behind the tomato trellising. That is our fruit trees. We bought fruit trees, bare root fruit trees, from Stark Brothers over the last 4 years. I have apple, peach, cherry, we have persimmon, and I have fig and pear at home. We've got a good amount of fruit trees, but these in the pot, very thirsty. I gave them each about a gallon of water tonight, just to really keep them thriving. But I'm hopeful that they will survive until we're able to get them in the ground. It's just not in the cards this year. So throughout the garden, we've got the wood chips, and you'll see cardboard kind of put in random places too. The cardboard is to really help suppress the weeds, and we need to get more wood chips. We have a huge pile of wood chips at our front gate that we got dropped off last week, but we haven't had a chance to move them yet. So y'all, we work full-time jobs. We don't live here on this homestead property, and it can be hard sometimes to get things done. So, and I know that, I know you know that, but the goal is to get more of the wood chips out here and really take care of some of these weeds. But if you've been following along with the channel, you know that right now the garden as it is today is 100 times better than it was last year, because last year the weeds, some of them were like 4 feet tall, no matter what I did. So I'm really hopeful the wood chips are doing a much better job. We just need to get another layer down and more cardboard down, and it will happen in time. I'm gonna leave our wagon here because ever in the chance that it does rain, it collects some water and then I can just dump it onto some plants. But we're done in this garden today. I am going to close it up with the fence, electrify it, and then we are going to walk up to my husband's garden and give you an update up there. So the bees are doing well. I will tell you that our mean, nasty hive, the small one over there, did swarm. All of them swarmed, and they are gone. And I am not upset. So we've got 2 hives left, the 2 tall ones, that are going gangbusters. They are looking really well. I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to have a ton of honey to extract this year, but we are going to get a good amount, enough for us and our family. And then my husband actually got another hive and installed that this week. So we're back to 3 full functioning hives. So the garden, this is the family garden. That is what I call it. Sometimes I call it my garden, but it's the family garden. This is my husband's garden. He is very determined, and I love this about him, to grow some food and contribute to the family garden, and also to enter some into the state fair. That's one of his goals with the kids too. So we're not going to go in, but I'm going to show you everything he's doing. I say that, and now I'm looking way over there, and I do think I need to go in and harvest some squash. But he has got a bunch of tomatoes. There is 1 zucchini plant down on the end there. More tomatoes. And then there's eggplant. And I got obviously that yellow squash plant. And then the other 2 back there are cucumbers, and these are cucumbers. His cucumbers have been doing really well. I've already picked probably 7 or 8 from his plants. So overall, his garden is looking great. He put a rain barrel out as well, but he gets the same amount of rain I get. So we're still struggling. He comes out and he waters probably twice a week, but overall his stuff looks very good. So I could harvest some yellow squash from his garden. I don't have anything in my garden to harvest yet, but I will in a day or 2. I'll have some yellow squash to get. So I'm just going to leave everything now, because I will be back in 2 days to water and check everything and probably harvest at that point. Thank you for joining us on our garden tour. I was really excited to do this with you guys because I've been sharing the building of this garden for the last 2 years, and this year, you know, every year seems to get a little bit bigger but a little bit better, and this year I am really excited for what can come from it. So I'll see you on the next one. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.